Welcome to Wednesday, August 19th, 2020. In today's edition of the Day Weather Podcast, we're going to talk about maybe a few thunderstorms over the next 2 days. We do have some subtropical moisture coming in all the way from the Pacific that will maybe fuel a few thunderstorms for a few lucky folks over the next 2 days. A little trickle of moisture is going to come in. It's going to be basically today and tomorrow, then it's back to dry weather again Friday and Saturday. Now, high pressure is reaching its peak strength. It's going to slowly weaken, but it's going to be a slow process for this massive high to die out. But it will be slow. Can we get lucky next week with the remnants of Hurricane Genevieve? Well, I think we might. I think we've got a pretty decent chance of maybe getting some help next week with some rain. We'll see. We'll show you how that might unfold. Then we're going to take a look at some possible long-term changes coming. Here we are with the upper level pattern with the jet stream right now. We have this dominant high pressure ridge over Utah and Nevada and over the Rockies. We have Hurricane Genevieve here across the west coast of Mexico, and we have this huge high in the Gulf of Alaska. We talk about the Gulf of Alaska a lot in this podcast because it really plays a huge role. When you have a low in the Gulf of Alaska, you have a high over the Rockies, and vice versa. That's going to play into our long-range forecast here in a minute. So here's Hurricane Genevieve. It's mainly going to stay out in open waters, go up into the cold waters of the Pacific, weaken, then the remnants go around the high into the central Rockies like this towards the middle of next week. That's what looks like it's going to happen, and we'll show you what might unfold. In the meantime, it's just hot high pressure with a little bit of Pacific moisture coming around the high and coming into here over the next couple of days, leading to some thunderstorms there. This is where we're going to be by the weekend. We lose some of that moisture and go back to dry conditions. Here's this blue patch right here. This is the remnants of Genevieve. And as we go through the forecast here, you can see by next Monday and Tuesday, Genevieve comes up and starts to bring in those blue and green areas there of deeper moisture into the region. We get into white and brown here to just spotty thunderstorm activity. Going forward, this is by next Friday. So basically, by the middle to the end of next week, subtropical moisture that's left from Genevieve comes over the central Rockies. This will do two things. It'll cool us off because of increased cloud cover. It will also bring better chances of rain. So keep your fingers crossed because this is really the only thing that's going to break the dry spell. Something of tropical origin able to come up, sneak in, and come around the high. In the meantime, we've got 5 to 7 days of very hot weather conditions continuing and just a few showers and thunderstorms. So fires and fire dangers will continue to be a big concern. This is where we are by next Wednesday. Notice the high is much weaker. Notice the Gulf of Alaska, well, we're starting to see some high pressure build. The low kind of retrogrades back up that way. So by next week, then things begin to change. Now, this is 10 days out. Look at this. Gulf of Alaska high. If you have a Gulf of Alaska high, you're going to have a downstream trough. So as we get right at the end of August, things are going to change, folks. The high will break its spell, and we start to see a more active jet stream up here, which you normally do. This is very typical for late August and early September. And I want to show you something, too, that lends confidence to the change. We talk about this Eastern Pacific Oscillation in the winter season and as we get into the colder seasons because it's a clue of what's to come. Anytime you have a positive Eastern Pacific Oscillation, the western United States is probably going to be warm and dry, which we're doing now. But notice the trend in the oscillation. It takes a little bit of a dip, then goes back up, then goes down again, and then tanks. Where does it tank? Right around that same time the Gulf of Alaska ridge builds. So, right at the end of August and early September, there will be a fundamental shift. Now, not saying this will happen, but this is actually for September 2nd and September 3rd. The blue and green and purple here shows a cold shot coming into the United States along the east slopes of the Rockies as that high builds in the Gulf of Alaska, right as we turn the month of August into early September. Now, west of the divide, it's still baking, but this right here is a hint of what might come. This is 2 weeks down the road, so take it with a grain of salt, but it's interesting nonetheless, especially when we're sitting here breaking and baking in the heat right now. Thanks for watching and listening to the Day Weather Podcast. Talk to you